Cool. All right, everyone. It's so good to see you today. I think most of you know me. My name is Dr. Ebony Williams, and you are here for our Triton Health Ambassador training. I guess I would say two, but you've already had two, so maybe this is three, even though we consider that part one and two, or we'll call this part three. With that, I'm the Director of Virtual Experience and Peer Engagement Initiatives. I'm joined by Rich Milan. Rich, you want to wave and say hi? Director of Recreation, control of all things cool.
Good to see everyone.
I have Mary Anderson on the call, Director of Case Management.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for all you do.
Making sure that no one takes advantage of you. That's what Mary's doing. We have Kevin McGlone representing the zone supervisors. He's going to be presenting today with us.
Hello, everyone. Don't mind if there's some background noise. We're in the events office and we got work today, so.
Getting work done. Love it. Thank you. And then if you don't know Ben Brickley, you probably shouldn't be on the call.
Morning, everybody. Good to see you.
All righty, cool. Excellent. Well, today's training will be around the following. We're going to review your role and what you're doing. At this point, you're probably more expert at it than any of us who are presenting today. We're going to talk about how great of a job you've been doing and what that looks like and why people are requesting your support. We're going to talk a little bit about conflict management and self-care. As you know, as you moved further in, we talked about scenarios and we knew that there might be an opportunity for encountering non-compliant or hostile individuals. So we're going to talk about that and how you can take care of yourself, and then remind you that you're not alone and how we want you to, how to support yourself and know what's available to you. And then we're going to leave a lot of time for questions, or at least some time for questions. So we should be out of here in less than an hour. And I appreciate your attention and your time and your talent at that. So THAs, your whole goal is to promote healthy practice and behavior. You are the reason we're able to open our campus. So we're so excited to have that. Support and educate the university community on COVID guidelines. And as you know, COVID guidelines change on a regular basis. So it's really important that you're there and aware of that. And I know your supervisors supporting you in knowing that. And so between COVID and university guidelines, you do both. You're supporting our health resources and making sure people have that information. And communication has been very key and essential for your job. So I'm glad you all enjoy communicating. And then peer-to-peer influence is really why you're the magic sauce for our return to learn. So you leading by example and being able to have, I would say, more aligned conversation with the students, which is the majority of the people that you run into. But a lot of you have run into staff as well as public people. So someone who's on mute, please put yourself on mute. All right, other pieces of your duty. Welcoming committee on a secret mission, right? Thanks for being on our campus. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. And do you have a mask, right? So encouraging people to wear and use their mask, encouraging physical distance, providing support for high density areas. You know, now that students are back on campus, food is a huge place of congregating. It was before COVID, it will continue to be as we all enjoy it. And then documenting areas so we know where there's intensity and where we may need to change our tactics and what that support may look like. With that, you're rock stars. You've been doing a great job. From a conversation, the role modeling of the behavior, wearing your mask, being in yellow shirts where they see you, supporting our college areas, your warm welcome, supporting return to learn. You handed out masks, you waved at people, you've been extremely flexible, you've supported testing, eating areas, you've probably given directions, right? You've asked questions and had questions answered, right? Classroom behavior, you supported, submitting reports. And last but not least, just being you, bringing your swag, and doesn't hurt that sometimes you got to give out some money. So we really want to take a moment to really thank you for all the great work you are doing. It is known, it is seen. You are bragged about on a regular basis by the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, by all of us on this call. There's another committee that supports you. That's another like 10 administrators. We're always talking about how great of a job you're doing. We definitely have cases where we always have areas of an improvement, but those are minimal and almost non-existent. So you are doing a great job. Keep up the good work and stay safe. I also want to take a moment to thank your lead supervisors. If you want to, thank them, they keep you well informed, keep you with hours, and make sure you know what guidelines are going on. And they also elevate information to us quickly so that we can support you. And you've been doing a great job of zones, and we've been able to repurpose your zones so that you're in high density areas. The supervisors also helped figure out where bathrooms were for you, so it wouldn't exist without your support. So thank you so much. Based on how great you are, we get requests on a regular basis. Our THA's going here, our THA's going there. Can I have a THA show up today, right now, because I just like their yellow shirts, right? So you're already supporting the grad housing in college areas, mainly the college area, outdoor spaces, people working out, eating, socializing, community members coming on campus and doing tours and being like, well, we were in the trees. We didn't think we needed a mask. No, you still need a mask. Right? Supporting the classrooms and even study spaces. Things that are continue to be in high demand, and we'll talk a little bit about, is you supporting the testing sites. Some of you have already worked in testing sites, and for all of you who've already worked in testing sites, man, they love you. They think you're amazing, and their work wouldn't be possible without your great work. Some of you may or may not know or notice, I assume you noticed if you were in certain zones, the big tents that have gone up at Revelle and Warren, and I won't tell you what the zones are because I'll forget which actual zones are. I'd have to look at the map. But they're huge white tents where we're planning on doing outdoor classrooms. And as a part of doing outdoor classrooms, we're also providing space for people to study while they wait to go to classrooms. And so we will be asking that you walk through those spaces and just make sure people have on masks, not hanging, do what you normally do, but there'll be another place of high density possibly, and they're opening next week. And then some of you were in a video shoot, so helping create messages for our students to remind them of best practices. So you've just been doing a great job and being amazing. With that, I want to get into a little more. They've asked me to give you a little more detail about if you have to work a testing site, what is expected of you. So that's what we're going to get into right now for a little bit, but I just want to pause here and just do another. We really appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to be here, and our campus wouldn't be open and safe without you. So with that, our campus is the reason that UCSD or San Diego has not gone into purple and shut down restaurants. It's because of our large amount of testing. It's because of the compliance. It's because our minimal COVID show up on our campus and our quick response. And so that is only supported by our ability to do large scale amount of testing of our on-campus population of students. And so when you're there, the review of what I'm going to go over is, how do you support price center testing? Ensure students have the app, right? You're going to facilitate appointment check-ins. You're going to have some information about troubleshooting the map, troubleshooting the mobile app, and we'll make sure you have a copy of these slides because there are some details that you may not capture in this one conversation that I want you to have access to. And then we'll also encouraging social distancing in lines, which you are very inept at doing. So these are the pieces of, if you get to go to Price Center, they're looking to have you do. As far as I know, we haven't, if you're your supervisor will tell you how that works out. So the first thing with appointments, how can I make an appointment? This is how people can make an appointment. You go to covid19testing.ucsd.edu. What a great URL. I hope you are going to testing. I've been talking to some of you. I know you're like, oh, I'm on my way to my testing, right? I see a lot of heartbeats at Price Center, but encouraging your friends and colleagues that they can get tested, whether they're on campus or off. All of this information allows for, one, people to be assured that they're safe, but two, it lets our campus and our county stay open and flexible so we can engage and have more fun interaction. This piece is the longer piece. So when you're in the check-in process, you're going to ask questions aligned with what are the questions that they ask you when you are sort of your daily screener questions, I would say. They're sort of aligned to that. Cool. And they are, Haley, they are inside student charts. There's multiple ways you can do the test. Thanks for that comment and question. So the first thing you'd ask is, what is your appointment time? Make sure people are there when they're supposed to be there. Mark off on the sheet Epic appointment labels that correspond to that time, right? So that they know that that's there. You ask someone what their birthday date is. That's one of our ways of affirming that we know who they are, right? So 2 pieces of identification. Do you have any symptoms of COVID, right? Cough, fever, shortness of breath, digestive upset, new loss of taste or smell. That one's an interesting one. And I love that that is something that lets us know if we have COVID, because I like to smell my food. And so you have an easy marker with that one. Have you had any recent exposure to someone with COVID-19 in the last, 2 weeks has been our marker, 14 days. If the answer is yes to either 4 or 5, have symptoms or have been exposed, then they need to go to, there's a person who will be on a computer in Price Center that they need to go to for a more formal check-in, and that removes you of that. But if their answer is no, you can direct them to wait and wait to be called to the testing table. So pretty straightforward. I think you are aware and have experienced this yourself. Hope I didn't go too fast. Okay, great. Perfect. Test scanning kit. So sometimes people are able to do their test scanning on their own. So they can use the mobile app. They can use an iPad that's available and provided in the Price Center, or they can get on a Chrome or a basically a internet provider and go to mobile.ucsd.edu if they don't want to download the app. Then these are steps that I don't want to go through because I doubt you can see all of the details on, but you're going to have to the person's going to have to log in, and then they get to My Charts, which I think Haley just shared that you can also do. That's how you can also make an appointment. And then you are in the space of mobile.ucs would like access to your camera. So they need to allow access to their camera. And then you have to scan a document. From there, they'll have you log in and then scan your test, and then you submit it, and then you look and log out if you want, or you can do something else in the app. So that's pretty straightforward. So that's when we have people doing their own scan of their test. These are the things that they need. And so I hope that's helpful. And we know that those of you who've been working there have been doing a great job. Other things and I'm almost done, I promise. Other pieces of this are troubleshooting. If people are having trouble with the app or scanning, these are some general tips on how to be effective during that. So make sure it's a brightly lit room, or using outside, or you're outside in order to scan. You need good lighting. Keep the camera stable, not shaking your hand. If it fails, you can try again, right? And then turn up the volume to cue the scan, right? So something about volume is connected. There's other issues here, and I think you can read those if you need to, but they give you information about if it gets stuck at the initializing. It may be the access to the camera. You can't download the app. They can go to mobile.ucsd.edu on the internet. Play button, scanning screen. They can use the iPad if their computer their phone's not working. Scan error issue, and they can exit the app and restart. And then if it's iOS, Safari, scan incomplete, you can update your browser and again, allow camera access. And then Portia just shared with me that they also have tech people on site that support you in this, but they asked me to share this with you, so I'm sharing. But you are not alone. All right. So these are information about enabling access in Safari if someone's having an issue. And so that's a very specific piece. So I'm not going to go through that, but know that that will be in the slide deck for you to have reference to. And then mobile.ucsd setup. So the scan setup there, again, giving access to camera. You may have to go into your settings to set that up to allow for that to be possible. So I hope that you receive that information. The reality is if you're assigned a Price Center, making sure people download the app, knowing what questions to ask, knowing to ask them what time their appointment is, knowing to ask their birthday, right? So those are the big pieces to take away from there. And again, you'll have these slides in your supervisor, or it'll be provided on Teams for your review before your session if you know that you're going to a testing center. So now we're on to the next part of our presentation, and we're going to talk about conflict management and self-care. But in order to get into that, I really want to deal with the fact that we have some guidelines that we went through in our original training, right? Approach someone when it's safe to do so. from a place of empathy and information. Simply ask individuals to step back if they're getting too close to from your comfort, or you step back, either way, right? You can refer to public health recommendations and best practices. The Return to Learn website has a lot of good information. If appropriate, provide subtle encouragement for the behavior and foster. I think most of you get to this step. You can refer to or reference Triton's help keep Triton safer, and Triton's care for Triton. So I tried to say them both at the same time. And then how we need to protect each other. And if appropriate behavior continue, you can file a report or call for help, right? So these are all things that we've shared in trainings, but I want to remind you, it's not helpful to shame people for not wearing their mask. Confrontation doesn't work. And you've done a great job of not being confrontational in the time that I've seen you. Don't assume you know why the person is not wearing their mask. Just be inquisitive. Ask the question, right? In situation of flagrant violence or campus policies, the process ups can report conflicts to. So you know that you can report this on your Microsoft Teams. You can report it by calling your supervisor. There's several ways we've shared that you can report that. And do not approach people who are just already appearing to be unsafe, right? So keep yourself safe. So those are the things that we've shared with you. But as you know, you've had moments where you definitely have had to employ and practice this. And so we wanted to give you some more detailed information around conflict management and how to de-escalate a situation. And for that, we're going to go with Kevin McClone. Thank you for listening. Kevin?
Yep. How's it going, everyone? I'm going to have a brief, try to keep it pretty short, but just some more specific tips and tricks for dealing with potential conflicts or, interpersonal issues you might have with someone when you are interacting with campus community members who may not be as receptive to the education and encouragement that we're providing. Next slide, please. So before we enter into any sort of situation that could be potentially stressful, just take a second to, calm yourself, a couple deep breaths, just, prepare yourself for a conversation, hopefully a positive one, but just preparing for the fact that, some people may not be as receptive to the education. Just taking that 1 second to center yourself and, enter a calmer state can really be helpful when you do begin the interaction. And with that comes controlling your body language and your demeanor when you're interacting with people. And that could be something as simple as, like crossing your arms can be considered like more of an aggressive or defensive stance. If you're, pointing a finger, rather than like using an open palm. That's kind of like a Disney technique, is not to point anywhere or at anyone, instead using open palms. Just generally keeping an open and friendly body language, body demeanor. If someone sees that we are in a more aggressive or defensive or accusatory stance or using like body language that suggests that, we want to make sure that that's not what we are doing, and we're not reflecting that, so that they don't see that that's what this situation or the conversation appears to be. So with that, just remembering that we're here to provide encouragement and education, very positive. We're not enforcing anything, so our phrasing shouldn't be, you need to do this, I am gonna, like I'm making you do this. It's, hey, welcome to campus. Just so you're aware of campus policy, everyone needs to be masked at all times. Even if we're just walking through, even if you are physically distanced, do you need a mask? Because I have some extras here. Or do you need directions? So we really do want to be friendly, and we're not enforcing anything. So just remembering that is the position we're coming from will be very helpful, as to not entering into stressful conflicts in the first place. And then last for this slide would be, just be prepared to potentially give more than you get. And by that, I just mean you can be very friendly, bubbly, good body language and demeanor, but some people may not necessarily be as friendly as you are, and just understand that might just have to be the dynamic because of what we're doing. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just some other kind of techniques using for kind of conversations with people is just to listen and empathize if someone does kind of have an issue or a complaint. a lot of issues in customer service come from when somebody has an issue or a problem and they feel like they aren't being listened to. So, even if it can be a little frustrating that people still haven't gotten the picture on masks and they're telling you about this, do your best to at least suggest that you are empathizing with them. Use like active listening phrases and strategies, lots of noddings. Yeah, I understand. Some phrases can be, as simple as, I understand it can be confusing with different rules on other campuses and other workspaces, but this is what our campus policy states. Hey, I understand masks can be uncomfortable at times, but everyone, we do ask as a campus that everyone is following the guidelines. Another tip is to make personal connections. Really easy way to do that is to ask someone their name. If they, are on campus, they look like a fellow student, you can ask, well, hey, what's your name? What's your college? And then, try to make a connection that way. People react really positively when you're like, if you say like, I'm like, oh, I'm Kevin, what's your name? And then, introduce yourselves from there. And trying to find some common ground as well. Like I said, if you did make that connection based on your colleges or your classes or your major or something like that, you can use that to tie into your conversation. Or something as simple as like, oh, I totally have forgotten my mask or not brought it before, not realizing, but I have extras here. I can provide you with one. So just making that common ground, making that connection really goes a long way in preventing any sort of situation from escalating or becoming a combative conversation rather than a positive one. Next slide, please. And then finally, for these other tips and tricks for conversations, if it does become a little more confrontational, or you feel like some people, if you're doing this and it's happening in a very public location, some people feel very trapped in conversations if they have lots of eyes on them. So you can feel free to walk to an area that's a little bit less populated, maybe off to the side. Don't go off into like a room alone or something like that, but just somewhere that's a little bit less on public display, so that people don't feel as like so many eyes on them, or like they're on stage, or like people are looking at them. That tends to make people defensive or feeling trapped. Another tip is just to, reference you're merely educating a policy. You're educating on a policy that has been handed down from campus. You yourself did not create the campus policy on masks. You yourself did not, create the policy on physical distancing. You are merely a representative of campus who is educating on these guidelines. It is not your decision that this person had to do this. It is something that has been developed by the campus at large. Another trick would be to emphasize that, hey, UCSD could enter into more of a lockdown phase just if things get bad on campus with COVID, if everyone isn't following the proper guidelines. And you can shift that conversation to the future as well and use some communal language to create hope. Something along the lines of, if we're all doing this together for the time being, then hey, we should be able to get through this quickly. And if the policies go as well as we think they will, we may be able to loosen some guidelines in the future. That'll create hope. That'll create, hey, okay, we just got to stick through this right now and move on. Next slide, please. And then, yeah, if none of anything that I've said works, it's possible if a person continues to be rude, or if they want to escalate, if they want to, argue about it. Remember, just no conflict is worth your safety. We're not here to argue. We're not here to get into any sort of conflict or confrontation or anything. So just back off. No conflict is worth your safety. If they begin to act aggressively or combatively, just back out and form a zone lead. If they become physically aggressive, or begin to use insults, or otherwise, you can certainly call us, or you can call 911, be directed to UCPD if they've become physically aggressive. And just to reemphasize as well, we're there for positive encouragement, and to report anything that needs to be reported. So we really do not want any situations that we could have exited that got worse because we did not choose to disengage from the situation. One thing I think is really important too is just to keep in mind that if someone has become unreasonable or aggressive, that's really a reflection of them, and a reflection of them being a jerk or a butthead or something. And it's really not a reflection of your ability, your worthiness as a person, your deservingness of respect as a human and as an employee and as a representative of the university. Just remember I know I've personally experienced this when I've had like a negative interaction with a customer, guest, and I've kind of felt a little bit down about myself, about maybe what I had done in that situation. I could have prevented that, but just recognize that some people are just gonna be jerks. Some people woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and that it's not your fault. It's kind of a reflection of them. So just for your own peace of mind, just remember that little bit there. And then remember to report any incidents to a zone lead. And please, if you do need to speak privately or want to or need that support, we are more than happy to speak privately and offer that support. Next slide. And this will be the last slide for me, but just understanding your resources. Use the buddy system. We do want the THAs to be pairing off specifically for that reason. It's just to have that little backup or support, feeling like you have a friend there and a support system with you at all times so that you don't feel like you're alone in any situation. So that's why we do have THAs pairing up as much as possible. No, you also have the support of your zone leads, your fellow THAs and the campus community as a whole. 99% of campus is very much behind what we're doing. And, you have the support of everyone in the administration. You have the support of us as zone leads, and just really pretty much everyone. And then always remember there's also a non-emergency police line you can call as well for things that aren't immediately a danger to anyone. And if you do need to, if there is something that is a threat to people's safety, that 911 is also a resource, and it will be directed to the UCSD campus police. So we'll not be going to San Diego Police Department. It will go to UCSD police, which is specifically trained to deal with campus conflicts. So thank you for listening to me. I know that was kind of a lot, but I hope that was helpful in how to handle potential stressful conversations or conflicts. So I'll kick it back to Ebony.
Thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone heard a tidbit. I also will say that I think for the most part, everyone's doing a great job of managing these pieces, right? And so I think that's something you should know. But we do want to really remind you that you want to avoid hostile individuals or groups. We're not asking you to be vigilantes. There's no need. There are others who can handle those situations. You're in the space of friendly compliance and reminding what's going on. With that, I want to talk a little bit about how we can think about taking care of ourselves. So though you may have handled a situation brilliantly, like it was textbook, you had done everything Kevin just described, and you're still left with feeling some kind of energy or space. And so let's talk a little bit about how you might be able to manage that and what are some of the things you should just be aware of. And so I think what I really want you to hear, and we've been saying since day one, is we can't guarantee that everyone you approach will be nice. We can't guarantee they'll be friendly or reasonable. And so we want to make sure you have some techniques, which is what Kevin just talked about, for stepping away and de-escalating. And we just want to reinforce some of the things Kevin said and then talk about how you can take care of yourself. So I'd like everybody just to take a moment and think about a time where you were proud of yourself and how you handled a situation. You don't have to share. If you want to share, we can take some time, but just take a moment and think about that. Could have been in your role as a THA, could have been dealing with your siblings, could have been with friends, could have been with a teacher, an authority figure at work. What were some of the things that, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, a time when I was proud of myself is it's not really work related, but it was with my high school club because our Black Student Union was just reinstated, and so I had just barely joined. I was one of the officers, and we had to kind of lead the club without knowing, like having any kind of mentors, because usually in the club the previous president kind of teaches you what to do and stuff like that.
Yeah, a real show of leadership when you get to lead and you don't get to pull from anything. Thanks for sharing, Christy. And then as you come up with a situation, what were the tools and processes you used, right? So thinking about I like to call them your superpowers, right? Like what was the technique that you managed that worked? Was it writing a list? Was it phoning a friend? Was it doing research? Was it just your intuition? Like, I'm gonna go left and everybody's going left with me. That worked for you. So you can start to understand how you process these moments. So I'm gonna take another pause and just, what were the tools and process that you used during that proud situation? So just reflect on that. If you don't know, we're building your toolbox. So based on what you came up with, those are the things that you want to keep in your mind as resources that are readily available, that you've already honed and that you use on a regular basis and are successful with. Now, every tool isn't for every job, but know that you have tools and you're not starting at square zero. You wouldn't have gotten into UCSD. You wouldn't be a student here if you didn't have some tools for thriving and dealing with situations, whether you didn't get the score you wanted, you didn't get into an institution, you didn't get the class you wanted, you didn't get the date you wanted. I don't know what it was, right? You didn't get in the club, you didn't win the officer role. You've dealt with conflict in your life, okay? In that, sorry, went the wrong way. You also have an identity. And as we're walking around, we have you in yellow shirts, but when people see you in the yellow shirts, you're not a monolith. They will see your maybe ethnicity. They will see your height. They may see your gender. They may see that you're wearing glasses. They may not like your hairstyle. Whatever that is, be aware of how you present to the world, right? Several of our identities are not physically present when people look at us, but we also know that our most salient identities, the ones that we resonate with, may not even be what how people connect to us. But we have to be aware of what people see, right? Like, I know when I'm in the world of engineering, the men in the room may see me as a woman until we're really in a problem, right? And that may cause some other thoughts or situations. So knowing what those be, and then what are the times that they could be leveraged against you, right? If I'm upset, I'm going to look for a way. People look at ways to attack, right? So just being aware of the fact that you know your identity and you can be aware of how someone may use your identity against you is you tooling yourself up for self-care in the space of being in conflict. And the last piece of reflection I'll have before I get into just some tools is I need you to think of ways of affirming who you are, your values, and your motivations. There's a reason you chose to be a THA. There's a reason you chose to be at UCSD. There's a reason you chose your major. There's a reason you have the friends you have. There's a reason for a lot of things. And some of those are vetted in who you are character-wise. Some of those are vetted in who you are is from a values perspective. And some of it is pure motivation. I want to be whatever that is. Have those sentences laid out for you. You may want to write them. You may want to record yourself saying things so you can have a place to come back to center on who you are and who it is you want to be. All of these reflection questions are pieces of making sure you're ready for the fact that we know that hostile situations will occur. So knowing that they will occur is actually part of self-care and maintenance and being prepared for dealing with them, okay? And if you know they'll occur and you have ownership of your values and your motivation and your identity, you will always have a place to come back to around what that looks like. And I'm not saying you need to know all of your values. I'm not saying you need to know all of where you're going in life. But right now, in your space right now, there are values that you have or motivations that you have. And if you're unsure, you can ask a friend, a family member, what do you see as my values? What do you see motivates me? And those are the things that you want to have in your toolbox. So you know that hostile situations can happen. Some of you already had them. And now we want you to have a place to go back to that later I'll call sort of your happy place or your grounding place. Know that aggression, when it comes at you, is usually misplaced anger, right? You ever ask somebody, hey, you want some fries? And they're like, what do you want? Why are you asking me? And you're like, wow, I just asked you about French fries. They may be thinking about something else. They may be dealing with something else in their life, and they may be dealing with some other hostilities. And so knowing that sometimes the aggression that comes at you isn't for you, and it's just someone who's already upset. One of my favorite quotes from my grandmother, hurt people, right? So if they're already upset and hurt, then that's what they're projecting in the world. So just know these are things that I want you to have, and these will take care of you, your space. I wrote stress inoculation theory on the top of this. This is a theory that you can look up and read more about if you'd like, but there's sort of 3 phases of how you can deal and manage your own stress. The first phase is centering yourself. When you're in the moment, and Kevin talked about this, taking a step back, walking away, grounding yourself. And then was the incident a sensory incident, a physical or mental, right? Like where did the threat come from in your body and how you're feeling, right? Were they attacking you mentally? Were you attacking you from a physical space? Or were they just like attacking your feelings, right? So what portion of that is something for you to be aware of, because it'll help you when you get to reflection space. Then immediately after, in our humanity, we love telling stories. So being able to recount the story. When I say to yourself, that sounds funny, but it's been shown that you can record yourself telling the story, and the fact that it is physically out of your body reduces your stress level, okay? You can tell a friend, you can tell a family member, you can tell a counselor, and you can tell your team, right? Or your teammate. Most of you are in pairs so that you have a partner in this and you're not alone, and that adds a level of safety for you and for us to feel safe that you're in this situation. And the last point is redirecting your energy. So when you want to redirect your energy, this is going back to like your happy place or your grounding. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Why is it valuable to be doing what you're doing? And what does that mean for who you see yourself to be in the world, and having those affirmations? Some people journal as a part of this. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I do want you to know that these pieces are effective pieces for self-care and self-maintenance. And they don't eliminate the fact that we will run into hostile situations, but they do allow for us to be outfitted to recover from them quickly and smoothly and effectively. With that, that is the end of our conflict management and self-care piece. We're going to move on to You Are Not Alone, and Rich Mylan will take over from here.
Hello again, everyone. It was kind of shared in Kevin's last slide, but the one thing we do want to do is make sure you know that you are not alone on campus. Not only do you have hopefully your THA buddy as you're working in your zone, and as hopefully you've made great connections through this program, but while you're on campus, there are multiple layers of folks that know who you are, know the great work you're doing, and we're here to help. So if you're in a college environment, or if you're walking on Ridge Walk or Library Walk or whatever zone you might be in, always know that you can lean into any professional staff, and that could be any of us. Please know my email is always available. I check that regularly. I know we're using Teams. At the same time, and Kevin had shared, and I'm just going to throw it up here again in the chat. Let me type as I talk, which is the campus dispatch number for PD. And when you call that, this is the non-emergency line. Please know if there's any emergency, either for you or someone you see on campus, please dial 911 and make sure you let them know you're on the campus of UC San Diego. But if you just need to report something, or if you need them to maybe reach out to a CSO or an RSO, you can kind of have a conversation with them at this number, that there could be a large gathering. Maybe you've already had that interaction and it didn't go as well as we've talked about today. Feel comfortable to check in. Let campus dispatch know that you might just need a CSO to come give you an assist, and just survey the area. And then the thing I really want to share with you is, and for those who don't know, I graduated from UCLA. I worked there for many years before coming to this campus. So I've been in the UC system a very long time. And the police department in a UC setting is much different than maybe what you would see nationally. They are specifically trained in the health and well-being of the students on campus. So assessing a space and understanding if police need to be involved, I just want you to be very comfortable that if you see a student in need, whatever that might be, too many drinks, just stressed, whatever that interaction might be, having UCPD involved it's much better than having it be in the city, because again, it's it's not because of anything other than our campus is, again, really focused on the success and the well-being of the students. So when you go through your steps, just know that you have a lot of opportunity and a lot of people on campus that are here to support you and support the work that you're doing. Next slide. And then as I kind of shared a little bit, is here's all the opportunities on how to report. So you have teams, you have your zone supervisor, we have dispatch at the help number that I threw in chat, and 911. So I kind of was a slide ahead of myself a little bit as we were talking. And again, my email is here on this slide. I do not want you to ever hesitate to reach out to me. I'm an extension of the zone supervisors. I work with them to give them the resources they need to do their work. And again, we're here to support you. The work you've been doing has been well received. I get multiple outreaches from the chancellor on down and everywhere in between. People have been so impressed in the work that you've all been doing. So I just want to thank you, let you know we're here to support. And then a couple last things I just want to throw in. This weekend, Sunday, is when we fall back. So we do have the time change coming. So I just share that with you as a note. I've definitely over my career missed a time change, which makes me late to a shift. But with that, we did order, and I think Ben's already shared with all of you, but we do have flashlights, little LED flashlights that you can pick up for use. So you do have it as things are going to get darker at the later shifts. And the marketing team at Recreation is just now finishing up, and we'll be ordering. Ben is coordinating the ordering of jackets. So we're going to get some new swag for winter quarter. So those that are working outside, you can keep a little warmer as you're walking on campus. So we're going to get some new items for you. One is the flashlight and one is a jacket. So they're just finishing that up. Ben is coordinating that with our marketing team, and then Ben will coordinate the distribution as we've been doing here out of REMAC when you get going. So we're really happy with that. Again, this goes back to campus wanting to invest because they know that you all are doing such great work. So we'll keep that going. And then finally, just a plug for this weekend. It's a couple things. One, you are students. So if you want to be active with Halloween, we have the pumpkin patch, and most of the spaces are starting to sell out. But if you do want to be part of that in Town Square, you can go to the Recreation website to sign up to decorate pumpkins, and there are prizes involved. It should be a great day. It's happening today and tomorrow in Town Square. There's also shifts. So if you want to make money, you can definitely work in the pumpkin patch. And I know Ben has those shifts up. And then finally, we are doing kind of a trick or treat in all of the colleges and grad housing. I know some of you have already signed up for that shift. I will be here Saturday. So just meet, we'll get the locations out to you later today. You'll see me at each location tomorrow between 4 and 6. If you can, get there by 3:30. And then for those of you that aren't working, and please sign up for the shifts, but those of you not working who do want to come trick or treat and get some candy, we will be in all of the colleges and grad housing handing out candy tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, thank you for everything.
Now we know why I put in the orange. It's so he could talk about Halloween. It worked out perfectly. With that, we are open for business for questions. You can either unmute yourself or you can type them in the chat. I just shared the Recreation link. Yes, you have to register for a pumpkin because they need to make sure you come at a certain time, given our safety and all that good stuff, but there's still space available. Rich was up at 5+ in the morning, making sure that we had pumpkins on our campus. So we appreciate that. There's moonlight hike spaces still available. And I put in the link, the incident report, which is another form of being able to share what you may happen that is not encouraging or happy, but your supervisors can go over that. We've also shared that information in previous trainings. So with that, we'd like to open up and say, do you have any other questions? In the meantime, I'm gonna look for the link for the Google Drive for you guys to see your colleagues acting out 6 feet apart. Wow, look at that.
The recording for this will it be available on YouTube, like the training, the first training sessions?
Yeah, as long as my colleagues do it. Yes, it'll be available.
I should have it out. Not everyone can make the training today, so I should have it out by next week. We just have to get it formatted by our marketing team. So I'll definitely send that out to in an all staff email for everyone to reference.
Portia asked a question about head count in Google Forms. Ben, do you have the answer for that?
So we've been having some issue accessing OneNote from phones. So my best suggestion until we figure it out is to just kind of take note of general hotspots within your zone. So, let's say there's a lot of people outside one of the dining halls. You can report that in Teams. And if you have a general estimate, just take a note on your phone. And then when you get back to a computer, you can leave your shift 5-10 minutes early to get back to a computer and report on OneNote. I know it does work in, when you access it on a computer. I'm just not sure why it doesn't work when you access it on your phone. So we're working out that glitch, but for the time being, just report it in Teams, take a general note, and really the head counts are mainly for hotspots. So, we don't need you walking by, Marshall Field, seeing one person working out there. You don't need to do a head count for that. It's generally just the more concerning areas where there's a lot of people.
Somebody has a pay period question around what week should be included.
Yeah, so it looks like the pay goes from the 18th until tomorrow, the 31st. So if you did not record any hours from last pay period, which was, like you said, 10/4 to 10/17, you'll have to report those hours retroactively. You can send me an email and I can give you those directions on how to do that. In Teams, I also put a frequently asked questions section up. You can access the EcoTime PDF there. That is a good way to learn how to report hours retroactively. If you are a newly hired THA and you don't have access to EcoTime yet, again, reference that email I sent a couple days ago and send me a time. Send me an email. If you are here in this meeting today, that means that you should be paid for this time period, or this pay period. So we want to get you a timesheet and make sure that you get paid on time. EcoTime question about complete and then go back and edit. So you actually cannot. So what you should be doing in EcoTime is you should be saving after you enter every shift. Once you have entered your last shift for the pay period, that is when you can complete it. I don't have access to your specific EcoTimes. We will have to, you would have to email the rec HR email to get them to uncomplete it or unfinalize it so you can go back and edit it again. So if you have already completed it, but you need to report a couple other shifts, you can email myself and HR just saying, hey, I accidentally completed my EcoTime. Can you please, undo that so I can add a couple other shifts? As you are adding shifts, always save it because you don't want to lose those shifts, but don't complete until you have entered your last shift of the pay period. And like I said, it's every 2 weeks. A few weeks, or I think last week, I sent out a link to the pay period schedule. I can send that again. That's also on the frequently asked questions part in Teams. But there's a link to the Blink page that has the pay cycles, the pay dates, all that stuff. So you could have that information, readily available to you.
These are great questions. What I'll say is, let's say if I'm working tomorrow 1.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
that's fine.
That's fine,
completely
Heather.
fine.
Yes, as long as you get it in by tomorrow, that's,
Yeah.
that's great. We definitely want you to not submit it until you have worked your final shift. So you shouldn't be reporting hours that you have not worked yet. So if you work the 5 to 8 shift on Saturday, or I'm sorry, the 4 to 7 shift on Saturday, work that shift, go home, record it, complete it. It'll be counted on time. There is one question from Jumebi, but it was asked privately just about a ballot drop-off box at REMAC. I want everyone to know about this as well. There is a polling location at REMAC. It's going to be downstairs, kind of down the ramp from where the main lobby is, where you pick up supplies. So just know that there might be a lot of people in that area. If you work in Zone 1, just keep an eye out. There is an interesting exception to the mask rule, apparently, that if you are voting, you don't technically need to be wearing a mask. So just be aware of that. We can definitely ask people if they want a mask. You don't necessarily have to remind them of the campus policy just because voting is an exception. So just be aware of that. Keep your distance if there's anyone not wearing masks. I don't imagine there will be a ton of people not wearing masks, but it's just something to be aware of. So the polling location will be open today, I believe today. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rich.
Tomorrow, polling is open
Tomorrow,
Saturday through Tuesday.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. So if you're working in that zone, just keep an eye out.
Yeah. And I want you guys to really hear that the rules about masking. So need you to not be on it as when you're closer to where they're actually voting. We're assuming when they're in line, they still have to have their mask on, but we don't want you to be in an unnecessarily confrontational situation. So just,
Yeah, anyone in line or anywhere, I would just say anyone working Zone 1, anywhere around the REMAC line, we won't want to have any conversation. We don't want to look like we're intimidating. So yeah, once they're kind of in and around the voting zone, we wouldn't have any, that would be the demarcation line.
okay.
Hey, Ben, real
These are,
quick for everybody, we have shared with everyone that this is extending into winter quarter.
I have not shared yet because I wasn't sure that was 100%.
I was good. I was like, oh, are we sharing that now, Rich?
Yeah. So what I'd like to share today for everybody to start planning, a few things will happen. One, you will see shifts posted for Thanksgiving holiday and for winter break. I haven't finalized the dates with Ben yet. Again, none of this is mandatory. I know everybody celebrates holidays differently. We still will want some THA interaction, but campus will not be as populated as we know with the holidays, but there still will be shifts. And then yes, the THA program is extending throughout winter quarter. And we will be, I think with Ben, he'll probably start posting, later in December, just to start populating week 1 and 2 for winter quarter. And we do plan to have this job available throughout winter quarter. We'll take another assessment, probably week 5 or 6 of winter, to see if we are extending it into spring. But at this moment in time, we are going to be extending the job through winter quarter.
Thank you for that.
I see a question from Karina real quick. I just want to make sure I address that. Yes, you do have to put in all trainings manually into EcoTime. So make sure that you're recording, today would be an hour, and you can put it in the notes that it's for training. You also do have mandatory compliance trainings through UC Learning. So there's, security, sexual harassment, things like that. So those will be required of you as well. Those are also paid. Make sure you put those into EcoTime as well. And you put them in as accurately as you can. So if you watch it, in the middle of the night just because you can't sleep, you can report it during those exact times.
Yes, he said yes. So Rich has answered that question. I am willing to stay on to answer more questions for you. How can we see what additional trainings are required was a private question. Where do they find their trainings?
It should be on Blink through UC Learning. I'm not exactly sure what the specific link is, but I will get that.
We will make sure that information gets to you through your supervisors or through Teams. Great questions. Thanks for asking. Yes, there's a complete button on EcoTime, and you may be able to talk directly to your supervisors, but there's a save and a submit. It's up in the top right-hand corner. Yeah. So. Mary, thank you for that. The emails have been sent saying that there are trainings. So at this point in time, it's 11 on the money. I'd like to end by we really thank you on behalf of everyone. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for bringing your talent, asking the great questions. As normal, I'll stay on just to make sure you don't have any additional questions. But it's been great to see your faces, great to connect with you, and I hope that all is going well in your world and you're staying safe. So thanks for being with us.